Good morning, everyone. Today we're diving into a powerful topic. Be valuable, not available. This isn't just a catchy phrase, it's a life principle rooted in biblical wisdom and practical living. In a world that constantly demands our time, attention, and energy, it's easy to become available to everyone and everything, but lose sight of our true value in God's eyes and His purpose for our lives. Let me ask you this. Are you spending your days being busy or being fruitful? Are you chasing after the approval of others? Or are you living in alignment with God's purpose for you? Today, we'll explore how to shift from being merely available to becoming truly valuable to God, to others, and to ourselves. But let me tell you this. Availability without value leads to irrelevance. Our time on earth is limited. And God has given us a purpose. The Bible tells us in Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. If we are always available, without setting boundaries, without focusing on growth, without prioritizing our God-given purpose, we will never reach the fullness of our potential. Let's dive into the difference between availability and value. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Are you living to be seen or are you living to be significant? There is a difference between being available and being valuable. A difference between just being present and making an impact. In today's fast-paced world, many people want to be everywhere at once, involved in every conversation, attending every event, and responding to every request. But let me tell you this. Availability without value leads to irrelevance. If you are always available but have nothing to offer, you will be overlooked when it truly matters. Instead of being everywhere, be purposeful, intentional, and productive. That is what it means to be valuable. Joseph's story, from slave to palace. Let's take a look at Joseph in the Bible. Joseph was not always available, but he was always valuable. When he was sold into slavery, he did not waste time complaining about his situation. Instead, he developed himself and made himself valuable in Potiphar's house. He worked with excellence and integrity, so much so that Potiphar entrusted him with everything. Genesis 39:4. Then, when Joseph was falsely accused and thrown into prison, he did not sit in a corner feeling sorry for himself. He made himself valuable again. He interpreted dreams, he showed wisdom, and he built relationships with the right people. Genesis 40, verse 8 to 23. Eventually, his value positioned him in Pharaoh's palace. He did not have to beg for a seat at the table. His skills, wisdom, and discipline made room for him. Do you know that recognition comes to those who are prepared? Many people want to be recognized, but they do not want to develop themselves. They seek attention, but do not seek knowledge. They desire promotion, but do not prepare for responsibility. Proverbs 22:29 says, "Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before officials of low rank." This means that if you develop yourself, if you focus on growing your skills, deepening your knowledge, and strengthening your relationship with God, you will be sought after, not ignored. People will recognize your value, not just your availability. Now let's discuss practical steps to becoming valuable. So, how can you shift from just being available to being valuable? Here are 3 key steps. 1, invest in your growth. Stop waiting for opportunities to come to you. Develop yourself. Read books, take courses, learn new skills, and seek wisdom. A person who is constantly learning and improving will always be needed. 2, be excellent in everything you do, whether you are working in a small office or managing a big project. Do it with excellence. When you do ordinary tasks with extraordinary dedication, you will stand out. Your work will speak for you. 3, align yourself with God's purpose. True value comes when your life is aligned with God's plan. Matthew 6:33 says, "But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you." When you seek God first, he will elevate you in ways you never imagined. My friends, do not waste time trying to be everywhere. Do not chase after attention. Instead, chase after growth, wisdom, and purpose. Be like Joseph. Be so valuable that even when people try to bring you down, your excellence lifts you up. Be so skilled that your name is mentioned in places of honor. Be so disciplined that opportunities seek you out. Let's be honest, sometimes we feel guilty for not always being available. We feel the pressure to respond to every call, attend every event, and say yes to every request. But let me remind you, even Jesus was not always available. In Luke 5:16, the Bible tells us that Jesus often withdrew to lonely places to pray. He understood that he needed time alone to recharge and refocus. In Mark 1:35-38, people were searching for Jesus, but instead of staying where he was, he told his disciples, "Let us go somewhere else, to the nearby villages, so I can preach there also. That is why I have come." Jesus knew that being valuable meant prioritizing his purpose, not trying to please everyone. If the Son of God set boundaries, why shouldn't we? Let me share a quick real-life story with you, my friends. A company once needed a consultant to solve a major problem that was costing them millions of dollars. They approached a well-known expert who charged a high consultation fee. Some questioned why he was so expensive, but the company agreed to pay. Within 15 minutes, the expert analyzed the issue and gave them a solution that saved them millions. Someone asked, "Why should we pay you so much for just 15 minutes of work?" The consultant smiled and said, "You are not paying me for 15 minutes of work. You are paying me for the years of experience and knowledge that allowed me to solve your problem in 15 minutes." Do you see the lesson here? When you have value, people will pay for your time. But when you are just available, people will take you for granted. When you are always available, you lose value in the eyes of people. People do not appreciate what is always accessible. Even Jesus, though he was loving and compassionate, was not available to everyone at all times. There were moments he withdrew to pray, as seen in Luke 5:16. There were times he set boundaries, even with his closest disciples. Why? Because he understood that to fulfill his purpose, he could not be everywhere at once or available to everyone at all times. He needed moments of separation, reflection, and renewal. Consider the story of the 10 virgins in Matthew 25, verse 1 to 13. 5 were wise and 5 were foolish. The wise ones understood the value of preparation. They did not waste their oil, their time, or their opportunity. They preserved what was important, ensuring that when the time came, they were ready. But the foolish ones, always running without focus, always assuming there would be more time, ended up missing their opportunity. The door was shut and they were left outside. What a powerful lesson about the importance of valuing our time, our resources, and our energy. If you are always available, emotionally, physically, and mentally, to people who do not appreciate or invest in you, you will burn out and lose your sense of purpose. Have you ever noticed that people respect and seek out those who are selective with their time? When something is rare, it is valued. When something is always accessible, it is taken for granted. You must ask yourself, am I spending my time wisely? Am I pouring into relationships, activities, and commitments that align with my purpose? Or am I just making myself available to everyone and everything with no clear direction? Think about a successful entrepreneur, a skilled leader, or a person of great influence. They're not available to everyone all the time. They set priorities, focus on their goals, and ensure that their energy is directed toward things that truly matter. The same principle applies to our lives. We must learn to say no to distractions, no to unnecessary commitments, and no to anything that drains us without adding value in return. Jesus himself showed us this principle. He loved the crowds, but he did not allow the crowds to dictate his every move. He healed, he taught, and he performed miracles. But he also withdrew, he spent time in prayer, and he stayed aligned with his mission. If even Jesus had to set boundaries, how much more should we? So what does this mean for you? It means you need to protect your time and energy. It means you must surround yourself with people who uplift you, who challenge you to grow, and who appreciate your presence rather than take it for granted. It means understanding that being valuable is more important than being constantly available. Your time is precious, your purpose is significant, and your life is meant for more than just responding to every demand that comes your way. Today, I encourage you to step back and evaluate where you are spending your time and energy. Are you focusing on your growth, your purpose, and your relationship with God? Or are you allowing yourself to be pulled in every direction, losing sight of what truly matters? Choose wisely, set boundaries, and remember, when you guard your value, you position yourself for greater opportunities, greater impact, and a life that is truly fulfilling. When you start valuing yourself, others will begin to value you as well. Think about Daniel in the Bible. He was not just another official in the king's court. He was a man of wisdom, discipline, and excellence. He was not always in the king's presence, but when there was a need for wisdom, when there was a crisis, Daniel was sought after. Daniel 6, verse 3. His value made him indispensable, and he was promoted to the highest ranks of leadership. Now imagine if Daniel had been available for every small issue, entertaining distractions or engaging in meaningless activities. Would he have had the time to develop his wisdom? Would he have had the focus to build a reputation as a man of excellence? Certainly not. His story teaches us that being valuable means prioritizing what truly matters, developing yourself, and ensuring that when you do show up, you bring something meaningful to the table. The same principle applies today. If you're always available for gossip, for idle conversations, for things that do not build your mind or spirit, you will never grow. People will see you as ordinary because you have not taken the time to refine yourself. But when you invest in knowledge, in skill building, and in your walk with God, you will not have to chase opportunities. Opportunities will find you. Proverbs 18:16 says, "A man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men." Notice that it does not say a man's presence everywhere makes room for him. No, it is your gift, your value, and what you carry within you that will elevate you. This means that to be valuable, you must be intentional about how you spend your time. Stop trying to be everywhere. Stop seeking validation from everyone and start focusing on becoming excellent at what God has placed inside you. Do you have a skill? Sharpen it. Do you have wisdom? Share it in the right places. Do you have a calling? Walk in it with discipline. When you do this, you won't need to beg for recognition. Your results will speak for themselves. Think of a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. They do not make themselves available for just anything. They invest years in training and preparation, and as a result, they are highly sought after. Likewise, in your spiritual life, your career, and your relationships, be intentional about your growth. When you grow, you become rare. And when you are rare, you are valued. So my question to you today is this. Are you choosing to be valuable, or are you just trying to be available? Will you spend your time wisely, develop yourself, and set boundaries? Or will you continue to be stretched thin, undervalued, and ignored? Choose wisely, because when you become valuable, you will never have to beg to be noticed. Your impact will demand attention. If you want to be valuable, you must be intentional about developing key areas of your life. One of the most important areas is spiritual growth. A strong relationship with God gives you clarity and wisdom. It is the foundation upon which everything else is built. When you spend time in prayer, study the Word, and listen to divine direction, you align yourself with God's purpose. Matthew 6:33 reminds us, But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. This means that when you prioritize God, he will add the things that make you valuable. Wisdom, favor, and opportunities will naturally follow those who put him first. Beyond spiritual growth, you must also be committed to knowledge and skill development. The world does not reward mediocrity, it rewards excellence. You cannot expect to be valuable if you refuse to grow in knowledge and skill. Proverbs 22:29 says, "Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before officials of low rank." This scripture clearly tells us that skillfulness leads to promotion. If you want to be recognized, if you want to be sought after, then you must be intentional about growth. Read books, take courses, develop new skills, and stretch yourself beyond your comfort zone. Daniel 1:17 tells us that God gave Daniel and his friends knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and that made them stand out. Notice that God gave them knowledge, but they had to put in the effort to develop and apply it. That is how they became valuable. Another crucial factor in increasing your value is time management and setting boundaries. You cannot afford to be everywhere, doing everything, and expect to be valuable. People who waste time on distractions, idle gossip, and meaningless engagements never rise above mediocrity. Ephesians 5:15-16 says, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil." Every person has the same 24 hours in a day, but how you use them determines how valuable you become. Successful people do not spend their time on things that do not add to their growth. They invest their time wisely, focusing on what truly matters. When you structure your life around discipline and purpose, you set yourself apart from the crowd. Think about Joseph. He did not waste his time lamenting when he was in Potiphar's house or in prison. Instead, he developed himself, remained diligent, and excelled in every situation. Because of his value, he was eventually sought after and elevated to a position of great influence. Joseph's story teaches us that you do not have to chase opportunities. Your value will create opportunities for you. The same principle applies today. If you focus on building yourself spiritually, intellectually, and in discipline, people will begin to recognize your worth. You will not have to beg for opportunities. They will come looking for you. There is something else that often holds people back from becoming valuable, and that is the fear of rejection. Many people are afraid to step up, to showcase their talents, to develop themselves because they are afraid of failing or being criticized. But let me remind you, even Jesus, the Son of God, was rejected by many, yet his purpose was never diminished. Rejection does not define your value. Your value is determined by your growth, your commitment, and your faithfulness to God's purpose in your life. Think about David. When he was tending sheep, no one thought he had any value. But while he was out there, he was developing his skills, learning how to fight, how to protect, how to lead. And when the time came, his value was recognized. He did not have to announce himself. His ability to defeat Goliath spoke for him. That is what happens when you develop yourself in secret. When the time comes, your value will speak louder than any words. So I ask you again, what are you doing to increase your value? Are you investing in your spiritual growth, sharpening your skills, and managing your time effectively? Or are you wasting opportunities, waiting for someone to hand you success? The truth is, no one will value you more than you value yourself. The world does not reward people who are just present. It rewards those who are prepared. Make the decision today to be valuable. Seek God, grow in knowledge, manage your time wisely, and when the time comes, you will not just be present, you will be indispensable. Now let's go a step further. Being valuable is not just about what you do, it's also about how you think. Your mindset determines your approach to life. Many people have limited themselves because they do not believe they are capable of more. But Romans 12 verse 2 tells us, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." If you do not renew your mind, if you do not shift your perspective, you will remain stagnant. Start thinking like someone who is valuable. Stop accepting less than you deserve. Stop settling for mediocrity. Surround yourself with people who push you toward excellence. Proverbs 13:20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." Who you spend time with influences your growth. If you are always around people who do not value growth, who waste time, who have no ambition, then you will struggle to rise. But if you position yourself around people who are disciplined, who are striving for excellence, their habits will influence you and you will become better. Another thing that increases your value is consistency. Many people start strong, but they do not finish. They begin with excitement, but when challenges come, they quit. Consistency is what separates those who succeed from those who remain average. Galatians 6:9 reminds us, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." If you want to be valuable, you must keep going even when it is hard. You must keep building yourself even when no one is watching. You must remain faithful to your purpose even when it seems like nothing is happening. Because one day your consistency will pay off. One day the world will recognize what you have been building in private. One day your value will be undeniable. So as we close this session, I want you to make a decision. Do not just hear these words and feel inspired for a moment. Take action. Evaluate your spiritual growth. Are you spending time with God? Assess your knowledge and skills. Are you learning and improving? Look at your time management. Are you investing in things that matter? Examine your mindset. Are you thinking like someone who is valuable? And finally, commit to consistency, because success is not a one-time event. It is a result of daily habits. If you do these things, your value will increase. You will not have to chase opportunities. They will find you. You will not have to beg for recognition. Your excellence will speak for itself. And most importantly, you will be walking in alignment with God's plan for your life. So go forth, be valuable, and let your life be a testimony of God's greatness. Many people struggle with saying no. They feel guilty about setting boundaries, afraid of disappointing others or being seen as selfish. But let me remind you that even Jesus said no. In John 11, when Lazarus was sick, Jesus did not immediately rush to him. He delayed for a purpose, and when he finally went, he performed a greater miracle. In Mark 1:35-38, when people sought after him, he chose to move to another town to preach despite their demands. He understood that saying no to some things meant saying yes to God's greater plan. You do not have to be everywhere, say yes to every request, or be available to everyone at all times. Your time is valuable, your purpose is valuable, your destiny is valuable. When you learn to say no, you take control of your life. You set boundaries that protect your time, your energy, and your focus. Saying no is not rejection, it is redirection toward what truly matters. Some opportunities are distractions in disguise. Some relationships drain rather than build. Some engagements may seem urgent but are not important. If you do not master the ability to say no, you will find yourself exhausted, overcommitted, and unable to give your best where it truly counts. When you say yes to everything, you devalue yourself. Think about a luxury item. It is valuable not just because of what it is, but also because of its exclusivity. Diamonds are precious because they are rare, not because they are found on every street corner. If you want people to see your worth, you must be intentional with your time and your presence. Sometimes saying no is an act of faith. It means trusting that God has a better plan, even when saying yes feels easier. Abraham had to say no to staying in his homeland because God called him to something greater. Moses had to say no to the comfort of Pharaoh's palace to embrace his true purpose. You too must be willing to say no to distractions so you can say yes to your destiny. It is not selfish to prioritize your purpose. It is wise. Proverbs 4:7 says, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Wisdom teaches us that we cannot be effective if we are drained, exhausted, and stretched too thin. Learning to say no means valuing your time as God values you. You are not meant to be a doormat. You are meant to be a light. You are not called to be everyone's solution. You are called to fulfill a specific mission. Some people will not understand your boundaries, and that is okay. Jesus' disciples did not always understand his choices, but he stayed focused on his mission. People may call you distant, selfish, or even arrogant when you set limits, but do not let their opinions distract you from what God has called you to do. Those who truly respect you will understand and appreciate your value. God has created you for a unique purpose. Do not waste your time trying to please people. Do not be everywhere, doing everything and ending up with nothing. Instead, focus on growth, purpose, and impact. Be known for excellence. Be known for wisdom. Be known for purpose. Be known for discipline. When you become valuable, people will respect your time, seek your wisdom, and honor your presence. Stop chasing after attention. Let your values speak for you. Matthew 5:16 says, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. That light does not shine by being everywhere. It shines through impact, through growth, through purpose. I challenge you today, be valuable, not just available. To be valuable, we need self-discipline. Self-discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. It is what keeps us focused on our purpose, even when distractions arise. Without discipline, even the most talented person will fail to reach their potential. It is not about how much you desire success, but about how committed you are to staying on course, no matter what. In 2 Corinthians 9:24-27, Paul uses the analogy of an athlete to illustrate the importance of self-discipline. Do you not know that in a race, all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last. But we do it to get a crown that will last forever. This means that just as an athlete undergoes rigorous training to win a race, we must discipline ourselves to win in life. If we do not take control of our habits, emotions, and time, we will never be able to fulfill our God-given purpose. Think about an Olympic athlete. They do not become champions by accident. They train daily, often sacrificing immediate pleasures for long-term success. They wake up early, push through exhaustion, and stay committed to their vision. In the same way, we must train ourselves spiritually, mentally, and physically to fulfill God's purpose for our lives. We cannot afford to live without structure, without a plan, or without focus. If we do, we will find ourselves wandering aimlessly, never achieving what we were created to do. To cultivate self-discipline, we must set clear, God-earning goals. Goals give direction. When we set goals that align with our divine purpose, they become the roadmap that keeps us on track. Proverbs 16:03 says, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. So we do not just set goals randomly, we commit them to God, and he guides us. Creating a daily routine is another powerful way to stay disciplined. A routine that includes prayer, Bible study, and self-reflection keeps us spiritually grounded. When we start our day seeking God, we gain clarity and strength to navigate challenges. Jesus himself set this example. Mark 1:35 tells us that he would wake up early to pray in a solitary place. If Jesus, the Son of God, needed time alone with the Father, how much more do we? Learning to say no is equally crucial. Many people struggle with this because they fear disappointing others, but saying no to distractions is saying yes to destiny. Nehemiah understood this well. When he was rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, his enemies tried to distract him. They invited him to meetings, but he responded in Nehemiah 6:3, I am doing a great work and cannot come down. That is the mindset we need. When distractions come, we must be bold enough to say, I am doing a great work and cannot come down. Discipline is not easy. It requires sacrifice. It requires focus. It requires perseverance. But the reward is great. When we cultivate self-discipline, we become people of excellence. We stop wasting time on things that do not matter. We stop allowing circumstances to dictate our actions. We become intentional, productive, and purpose-driven. The world does not reward wishful thinking. It rewards action. God does not bless laziness. He blesses diligence. Proverbs 13:04 says, "The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, but the soul of the diligent is richly supplied." Diligence and discipline go hand in hand. If we stay disciplined in our spiritual growth, our work, and our relationships, we will see God's hand of favor upon our life. One of the biggest challenges to self-discipline is procrastination. Many people delay taking action because they feel unprepared or afraid. But waiting for the perfect moment is a trap. Ecclesiastes 11:04 warns us, "Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap." If we keep waiting for the right conditions, we will never move forward. We must start where we are with what we have and trust God to guide our steps. Another key to discipline is surrounding ourselves with the right people. Proverbs 13:20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." The company we keep influences our mindset, our habits, and ultimately our destiny. If we surround ourselves with people who are focused, driven, and God-fearing, we will be inspired to stay on course. But if we associate with those who are lazy, negative, or constantly distracted, we risk becoming like them. Self-discipline also requires resilience. There will be days when we feel like giving up, when challenges seem overwhelming. But Galatians 6:9 encourages us, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Success does not come overnight. It is the result of consistent, daily efforts. Even when we fail, we must rise again, learn from our mistakes, and keep pressing forward. So I challenge you today, be disciplined, be focused, be intentional. Your future depends on what you do today. Your value is determined by how well you manage your time, your energy, and your purpose. Let your life reflect excellence and commitment. When you do, you will not just be available, you will be valuable. And when you are valuable, the right opportunities, the right people, and the right doors will open for you. Stay disciplined and watch how God elevates you to new heights. Being valuable isn't just about personal growth, it's about adding value to others. When we live out our God-given purpose, we become a blessing to those around us. True success is not measured by how much we achieve alone, but by how much we impact and uplift others. Life is not meant to be lived in isolation. We are called to be vessels of light, spreading goodness wherever we go. In Matthew 5:16, Jesus says, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Your life is a testimony of God's love and grace. When you add value to others, you point them to Him, you inspire them, encourage them, and help them grow. There is no greater fulfillment than knowing that your presence in someone's life has made a difference. Think about a candle. It doesn't lose its light by sharing it with another candle. In fact, the more candles it lights, the brighter the room becomes. In the same way, when you pour into others, you don't lose your value, you multiply it. The more you give, the more you receive. The more you bless others, the more you position yourself for blessings. Proverbs 11:25 says, "A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." Thus, look around you. There are people in need of encouragement, wisdom, and support. Maybe it's a struggling colleague, a discouraged friend, or someone searching for direction. Take time to pour into their lives, speak words of affirmation, share your knowledge, and extend a helping hand. The small things you do today can create ripples of change in someone's life for years to come. Adding value to others doesn't require extraordinary abilities. It requires a willing heart. It's about looking for opportunities to serve in your community, workplace, or church. It's about using your talents and gifts to bless those around you. If you're a teacher, teach with passion. If you're a leader, lead with integrity. If you're a friend, be a source of encouragement. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, has the power to transform lives. We must also be intentional about building relationships that encourage and uplift others. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow and be that person for someone else. Iron sharpens iron. We become stronger when we support one another, when we invest in meaningful connections that build faith, confidence, and purpose. Adding value to others is not a one-time action. It's a lifestyle. It's choosing daily to be a source of light and inspiration. It's understanding that success is not about how much we accumulate, but how much we give. When we shift our focus from personal gain to collective growth, we align ourselves with God's purpose for our lives. So I pray that spiritual guardianship, take a moment and think about the people who have impacted your life. Maybe it was a teacher who believed in you, a mentor who guided you, or a friend who encouraged you in your lowest moments. Their investment in you shaped who you are today. Now it's your turn to do the same for others. The kindness you show, the wisdom you share, and the love you give will leave a lasting impact far beyond what you can imagine. So I challenge you today, be a giver, not just a receiver. Be an encourager, not just a bystander. Be a leader, not just a follower. The world needs people who are willing to invest in others, to lift others up, and to make a difference. When you commit to adding value to those around you, you don't just leave an impact, you leave a legacy. And when your life is one of impact and legacy, your value will never be forgotten. You were created for more than just existence. You were made to shine, to inspire, and to transform lives. Go out today and be valuable, not just for yourself, but for the people God has placed in your life. Be a light, be a blessing, and watch how God uses you to transform lives. Life is not meant to be lived in isolation. Who you walk with determines where you end up. Proverbs 13:20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." This truth cannot be ignored. The relationships in your life either elevate your value or diminish it. If you want to grow spiritually, mentally, and professionally, you must intentionally surround yourself with people who sharpen you, challenge you, and push you toward greatness. Take a moment and think about the people closest to you. Do they inspire you to be better? Do they challenge you to grow? Or do they keep you stagnant? Many times people struggle not because they lack potential, but because they are surrounded by the wrong company. It's easy to adopt the mindset, habits, and even limitations of those you spend the most time with. If you consistently engage with people who have no vision, no drive, and no discipline, eventually their influence will rub off on you. But when you surround yourself with people of wisdom, faith, and excellence, you naturally begin to rise higher. Look at the life of Jesus. Even though he loved everyone, he was intentional about his inner circle. He had 12 disciples, but within that group he had Peter, James, and John. 3 individuals he allowed into the most significant moments of his ministry. Why? Because not everyone is meant to have full access to your life. Some relationships are for encouragement, some are for accountability, and others are simply seasonal. Wisdom is knowing which relationships to nurture and which ones to release. Think about the story of Daniel. He and his 3 friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, were young men of wisdom and integrity. They chose to stand for righteousness in a foreign land, and because of their unity and commitment to excellence, they rose to positions of great influence. What if Daniel had chosen different friends? What if he had surrounded himself with people who compromised their values? His story might have been very different. The truth is, strategic relationships shape your destiny. When you walk with people who are ahead of you, they pull you forward. When you connect with those who are also striving for greatness, you challenge each other to grow. But if you consistently entertain relationships that drain you, distract you, or pull you away from your God-given purpose, you are limiting yourself from the fullness of what God has for you. So how do you build strategic relationships? First, be intentional. Great relationships don't happen by accident. They require effort and discernment. Seek out people who inspire you, people who are walking in wisdom and purpose. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and connect with those who are ahead of you in areas where you want to grow. Second, be a person of value yourself. If you want to attract quality people, you must also be someone who adds value. Invest in your growth, pursue excellence, and cultivate integrity. The right people are drawn to those who are committed to becoming their best selves. Don't be afraid to let go of relationships that no longer serve your growth. Some connections were only meant for a season. Holding on to relationships that drain you emotionally, spiritually, or mentally can slow you down. It's okay to love people from a distance while prioritizing the relationships that push you toward purpose. Remember, you are never meant to do life alone, but you were also never meant to walk with just anyone. Be intentional about who you allow into your inner circle. Surround yourself with those who inspire, challenge, and uplift you, and watch how your life begins to transform. The right relationships will not only elevate your value, but they will also propel you toward your God-ordained destiny. Choose wisely, walk wisely, and grow into the person God has called you to be. Now, let's look at excellence over exposure. People chase visibility, thinking that if they are everywhere, they will be recognized. But the truth is, exposure without excellence is empty. True value is not about being seen by many. It's about being exceptional in what you do. It's not about how many people know your name. It's about what your name represents. Proverbs 22:29 says, "Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before officials of low rank." Think about the greatest names in history, whether in business, leadership, or faith. They didn't become valuable because they were everywhere. They became valuable because they mastered their craft, remained disciplined, and pursued excellence. Joseph in the Bible wasn't running around trying to be noticed. He was excellent in every place he found himself, from Potiphar's house to the prison, and that excellence took him to the palace. Excellence speaks louder than self-promotion. You don't have to force people to notice you. When you are truly excellent, they will notice. Have you ever wondered why gold is so valuable? It's not because it is everywhere. It's because it is rare, refined, and pure. In the same way, when you cultivate excellence, people will seek you out. Doors will open, not because you knocked on all of them, but because what you carry is undeniable. But let's be honest. Excellence requires work. It demands dedication, discipline, and a commitment to continuous improvement. It means refining your skills, deepening your knowledge, and never settling for mediocrity. It means showing up prepared, giving your best effort, and not cutting corners. If you're a student, don't just aim to pass, strive to be outstanding. If you're a professional, don't just do enough to keep your job. Aim to be the best in your field. If you're in ministry, don't just preach or sing. Pursue the anointing that transforms lives. The mistake many people make is thinking that visibility equals success. But what good is being seen if what you offer is average? Instead of trying to be everywhere, focus on being the best at what you do. People are drawn to quality. They are drawn to those who bring solutions, who inspire, and who demonstrate a spirit of excellence. Daniel is another example. He wasn't in every political circle trying to make connections. Yet Daniel 6 verse 3 says, "Now Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom." It was his excellence that elevated him, not his exposure. So the question today is, are you focusing on exposure or are you cultivating excellence? Are you chasing attention or are you sharpening your skills? Are you trying to be everywhere or are you positioning yourself through quality, wisdom, and mastery? The world doesn't need more people who are just visible. It needs people who are valuable. I challenge you today, choose excellence, strive for mastery, commit to growth. When you do, you won't have to chase opportunities. They will come looking for you. Your name will be mentioned in places you've never been, not because you push for it, but because your work speaks for itself. Let your excellence make the noise and trust that when the time is right, God will place you where you need to be. More so, let me teach you the currency of time management. Time is one of the most valuable gifts God has given us. Unlike money, which can be earned back, or opportunities which may come again, time once spent is gone forever. That is why managing your time wisely is one of the greatest ways to increase your value. Ephesians 5:15-16 reminds us, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil." Every day we are given 24 hours, a currency that we must invest wisely. The difference between those who are impactful and those who remain stagnant is not their background, intelligence, or talent. It is how they use their time. Successful people don't have more hours than others. They have simply learned to make their hours count. Look around and you'll see how time is often wasted. Some people spend endless hours scrolling through social media, watching television, engaging in meaningless conversations, or procrastinating on things that truly matter. Yet they wonder why they are not making progress. The truth is, where you invest your time determines what you harvest in your life. Think of time as a bank account. Every morning, God deposits 86,400 seconds into your life. You can either spend them on things that add value to your future or waste them on distractions that lead nowhere. But here's the catch. Whatever you don't use wisely, you lose. Time doesn't carry over to the next day. That is why wise people are intentional about where their time goes. One of the best ways to manage your time is to prioritize what truly matters. Not everything that demands your attention deserves your time. There are tasks that push you closer to your purpose, and there are tasks that drain you with no reward. It is your responsibility to distinguish between the two. Just because something is urgent does not mean it is important. Many people stay busy but are not productive. They run from task to task, yet at the end of the day, they have nothing to show for it. True value is found in focusing on what aligns with your purpose, not just what keeps you occupied. Look at Jesus. He had only 3 years of ministry, yet in that short time, he changed the world forever. He wasn't everywhere trying to please everyone. He was strategic. He knew when to withdraw and pray, when to teach, when to heal, and when to rest. He didn't allow distractions to pull him away from his purpose. If Jesus, the Son of God, managed his time wisely, how much more should we? The key to mastering your time is discipline. There will always be something to watch, someone to talk to, or an excuse to postpone important tasks. But discipline means choosing long-term impact over short-term pleasure. It means setting goals and sticking to them. It means scheduling your priorities instead of prioritizing your schedule. Think about an Olympic athlete. They don't waste time on activities that don't contribute to their goal. They follow a strict training schedule, maintain their diet, and ensure that every moment they spend is leading them toward victory. Likewise, if you want to be valuable, you must be intentional with your time. One powerful principle is learning to say no.